Welcome to the council meeting, a regular council meeting agenda Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025, 6 p.m. Council Chambers, City Hall, 300 Forest Avenue, Pacific Grove. The council will not begin consideration of any item on the agenda later than 10 p.m. unless there's consideration to is approved. Any items on this agenda not considered this evening will be continued to a future meeting.
Mayor, could I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
There's no need for you to read everything that's on the agenda. You could just call the meeting to order and we
Okay.
can get started.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Carrick. I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mayor Smith is not here, so the Mayor Pro Tem, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's see. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to be doing some presentations on,
Do we need, you want to call the vote or
A
just
vo-
voice vote?
A voice vote?
yeah, voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
No's, none. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and talk about the mayor's proclamation with Jacob's Heart. And I think someone's here for Jacob's Heart. I don't know if this thing will-
We might
Yeah,
have,
maybe I'll do this.
There it is.
Oh, there we go. It's working. Good. Is someone here from Jacob's Heart?
not
Nope,
yet,
not yet.
not yet.
Okay.
Do you want to do the others first?
I'll-
Mr.?
Maybe I'll go ahead and do the others first.
Thank you.
I'll do the mayor's proclamation on the County of Monterey Board of Supervisors establishing the third Tuesday of September as National Voter Registration Day. Whereas the County of Monterey is committed to encouraging board voter registration, access, and citizen participation in elections among voting eligible citizens. And whereas the County of Monterey recognizes that many Americans are not able to vote because they miss a registration deadline, do not update their registration information, or are unfamiliar on how to register. Whereas the County of Monterey recognizes the challenge that many Americans face in their everyday lives that may impede their abilities to register to vote. And whereas the County of Monterey recognizes the need for diverse partners such as nonprofits, libraries, businesses, college, and universities, and more to work in the communities they serve to register the citizens to the vote. Whereas the need for reliable and trusted public information and education on voter registration is critical to Americans' active participation in elections and the integrity of the electoral processes. Therefore, I, says Nick Smith, but I am Mayor Pro Tem Joe Emilio of the City of Pacific Grove, do hereby declare that the third Tuesday of every September as National Voter Registration Day, in commitment to joining national efforts to support voter registration and participation. And I do want to recognize Sandra for doing so much on the voter registration.
Thank you.
And is there anybody here for Hispanic Heritage Month? Okay. This is the Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas each year, the federal, state, and local governments observe Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th by recognizing and celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors come from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central America. Whereas September 15th is significant as a starting date for Latino, Heritage Month because of its anniversary of independence for the Latin American countries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their independence on September 16th and September 18th respectively, and Columbus Day or Dia de la Raza, which is October 12th, falls within the 30-day period. Whereas Hispanics and Latinos are the largest ethnic group in the state of California and at 18.5% of the United States population, make up the largest ethnic or race minority group in America. Whereas Hispanics, Latinos have and continue to serve as civil rights leaders, educators, public servants, business owners, activists, artists, colleagues, friends, and much more in our community and across the world. Their values, service to others, nonviolence, acceptance of all people, respect for life, and the environment, and celebrating community are also America's values. And whereas Hispanics and Latinos continue to enrich our nation's character, shape our common future, and affirm the narrative of the American unity and progress. And whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month, we celebrate Hispanic culture, honor the invaluable ways of Hispanic contribution to our common goals, and work together toward a stronger, more inclusive, more prosperous society for all. Whereas the City of Pacific Grove Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force recommends proclamation of the Hispanic Heritage Month each year. Now, therefore, I, Joe Emilio, Mayor Pro Tem of Pacific Grove, do hereby proclaim September 15th, 2025 through October 15th, Hispanic Heritage Month, and encourage all citizens to recognize the significance of Hispanic heritage and history of our nation and city. And we have someone from,
It doesn't appear so, Mayor Pro Tem, so I would just
Um,
proceed with the meeting if you.
okay. This is a proclamation honoring Jacob's Heart of the Children's Center Cancer Support Services and declaring September 25th as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Pacific Grove. Whereas the character of our community is revealed in how we treat our most vulnerable, and whereas each year 19.2 in every 100,000 children in our community will be diagnosed with cancer. And whereas cancer remains the leading cause of death by disease among children, more than asthma, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, congenital anomalies, and AIDS combined, and whereas Jacob's Heart has been keeping medically fragile children and families housed, fed, and emotionally supported by steadfastly adhering to the following commitments. Parents of children with cancer and other serious illnesses will be relieved of financial fears and able to focus attention in their children. No child seriously ill children will not experience food insecurity during and after the pandemic, and no child seriously ill in our community will ever miss a medical appointment because of lack of transportation. Whereas Jacob's Heart holds the memories and honors legacies of hundreds of children from the local community who have been lost to cancer, ensuring that their memories will live forever. Whereas the oncology department of the Lucille Packard Children's Hospital at Stanford has worked closely with Jacob's Heart for the past 27 years as trusted community partner, providing family-centered care that addresses the emotional, practical, and financial struggles for families of children with cancer in the city of Pacific Grove. And whereas it is important for all Pacific Grove City residents to recognize the impact of pediatric cancer on families within our in our community, and honor the children in our community whose lives have been cut short by cancer. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Pro Tem Joe Emilio of the city of Pacific Grove, hereby declare September 25th as Child Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Pacific Grove, and do hereby honor Jacob's Heart Children's Cancer Support Services for their outstanding support to our community, and acknowledge the organization's contributions to Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Okay, we'll continue on with the agenda.
I just turned them on. I got it.
Oh, okay. We'll continue on with the agenda. Is there any general public comment? Yes, ma'am. Could you?
Did you want to report out?
Oh, wait, yeah, hold on one second here. Skip one. Thank you, Mr. Parrott.
Yeah, I'd like to.
A little bit, okay. Okay, council and staff announcements. Mr. Morganson,
I think we start with the city attorney.
okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay,
Sorry. I'd like to report that we had a closed session earlier this evening, two of them actually, and there's no reportable action from either of those items.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Parrott. And Mr. Morganson, do you have anything?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, or Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, apologize. One update for the council. We just got a letter today from make sure I get the agency correct, State Historic Resources Commission. So the Chautauqua Hall project that council authorized money for us to pursue a historic designation, it was been put on their agenda. So on November 7th at 10 a.m., they'll consider Chautauqua Hall for historic designation. So that's some good news that is moving along, and I'm sure we'll talk to our historical commission, and we'll make sure that they are aware as well. So you can zoom in, I'm sure, to watch the meeting and participate.
And that's going to be on November 7th.
November 7th at 10 a.m.
Let's see. How about the council? Does anybody have any comments? Everybody okay? Okay. We'll go on and move on with the general public comment again. Does anybody have any general public comment that on items that are not on the agenda? Hello.
Good evening. My name is Susan Goldbeck, and I've been a resident of Pacific Grove for over 30 years, was on the city council and the planning commission. I used to own the town newspaper, The Beacon, and recently I put a version of it abbreviated online. I get asked all the time how it's doing. Well, it's struggling because it's very hard for me to do it all. We are getting some volunteers and we sure need some more. The reason I wanted to talk to you at the council meeting every time is so that people will start getting online and reading what the council does, what the planning commission does, and what have you. Originally, the people we had doing the Beacon were volunteers, and they really didn't know how to do the technological things, and I certainly don't know how to do it. So now we have a guy that's trying to bring it up to date. And so if you want to read it, it's going to be at pacificgrovebeacon.com, and if you put news after it, it'll come up at the top of the list. Otherwise, you get the drug rehab house, the Beacon House. So, I've been working so hard, I may need the latter pretty soon. But anyway, I hope people will support this because I really don't think that you can have an active and vital town without a newspaper. And I beg everyone to read it, to contribute to it. We have a contribution supporters wall. I'm certainly not getting paid anything. But so far, we have had some people, but we can use more. So, and volunteers, yes, indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I look forward to reading that. Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff, it's good to be here. My name is Jasmine Venegas, and I am PG&E's Government Relations Representative for the Central Coast Division, which includes Monterey County and all of the cities within it. I am the point of contact for elected officials and staff members. I've been in my role for under a year and have had the opportunity to meet with a few of you, including city staff, specifically administration and public works, Essentially, think of me as a resource. If you have a question about anything related to PG&E, I am responsible for finding the information you need or connecting you with the right person. That said, one of the main roles I play is updating you if we have significant power outages that impact the community here. You can and should reach out to me for updates in these types of situations. I am happy to help. I know that fire risk is of great concern to the community in Pacific Grove, and it is something that we at PG&E take very seriously. I would like to share a few updates as we enter peak wildfire season. Across our system, we have hardened over 2,000 miles of electric distribution power lines, including undergrounding over 960 miles since we launched our 10,000-mile undergrounding program in 2021. We will complete almost 1,000 more miles of undergrounded or covered power lines by the end of 2026. We have dramatically improved how we inspect our power lines and equipment using drones and advanced imaging so that we can find and fix conditions before they fail. We've implemented layers of protection with a focus on fail-safe capacity as part of our wildfire risk mitigation approach. There have been no major wildfires caused from our equipment in 2023, 2024, and so far in 2025. Independent sources such as Stanford's Woods Institute for the Environment have assessed our wildfire plans as among the best in the nation, and we now host an annual wildfire safety conference where other utilities across the nation share best practices and learn from each other. As you know, a major component of our wildfire mitigation plan is vegetation management. In this area of Pacific Grove, we regularly field all high vegetation locations, including George Washington, Rip Van Winkle, and Del Monte parks. We maintain clearance across all high voltage conductors, and our clearance requirement is 18 inches at all times throughout the year. If there's interest, I'd be happy to come back at a future meeting to share a more detailed update. And finally, if you have time in the coming months, it would be great to meet in person. You will find my phone number in my email signature. Don't hesitate to reach out, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I have a brain injury, so I'm going to try to be within 3 minutes. City Council members, my name is Rivka Revivo, and I've been a proud resident of Pacific Grove for about 10 years. I'm here as a follow-up to a letter I wrote about a month ago regarding a public safety issue that needs to be addressed swiftly. As many residents have noticed, there's been a significant rise in the use of e-bikes across the Pacific Grove and Monterey communities. E-bike rentals support local businesses, encourage tourism, and provide a more environmentally friendly means for transportation. However, these e-bikes are not closely regulated in our communities. They top out at about 28 miles per hour, and these e-bikes present a significant public safety issue. Inexperienced e-bikers on the recreational trail have been known to speed through areas with dense foot traffic, striking or nearly missing pedestrians and other cyclists. Without close monitoring, these bikes can cause severe injuries or, in extreme cases, fatalities. Accidents happen all the time on the recreational trail. In fact, a cyclist hit me back in July while I was walking on the recreational trail. My injuries would have been exponentially worse had the cyclist been on an e-bike instead of a non-motorized vehicle or non-motorized bicycle. I understand that the Pacific Grove Municipal Code dictates speed limits for e-bikes on the recreational trail. However, there is no, to my knowledge, no monitoring to ensure compliance with these rules. In fact, over the recent Labor Day weekend, I did not observe any police or code enforcement on the recreational trail to ensure that that the top speeds were not exceeded. We don't post speed limits for cars without monitoring that. So why would we do that for e-bikes or other kinds of bicycles? So my recommendation is to prioritize monitoring of the recreational trail to ensure that Pacific Grove is safe for all. I appreciate your consideration and your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Because it's public comment, I just wondered, Mr. Who would she contact on something like that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I've noted her name and the content of her discussion. She's also emailed us, so we are following with the police chief on the topic, and we'll be able to follow up with you directly offline as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to go on to the consent agenda. Oh, yeah, online public comment. Do we have any?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Sharon Miller.
Good evening. Yes, indeed, I'm Sharon Miller from Pacific Grove, and I'm also from the League of Women Voters of Monterey County. The League would like to say that they appreciate very much the council's calling attention to National Voter Registration Day with this evening's proclamation. On that day, which this year falls on Tuesday, September 16th, local League members will be registering voters at the PG Post Office from 10 to noon, the PG Meeting House Coffee Shop from noon to 2, and the PG Library from 2 to 4. If you need to register or update your registration, or if you have related questions, please drop by one of our tables. Pass the word to friends and family. A current voter registration ensures that you will receive the right mail-in ballot for the November 4th election. That could save you time and possibly frustration. Thanks again, and remember, September 16th is National Voter Registration Day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else online? Sandra?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, we have two more. Inga Lowenton-Dreimer.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, and staff here. I sincerely hope that the meeting minutes absolutely reflect that the meeting was not called to order at 6, but at 6:16. And then I would like to ask if our city manager could post somehow, not on social media, but in a news blast, the meeting that is for the November 7th agenda for Chautauqua Hall. I would very much appreciate being able to see details, Zoom details for that meeting. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Yes, we have Anthony Ciani and one more caller after
Okay.
him. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I just want to echo the comments by the woman expressing the concern about the e-bikes and the speed on the recreation trail, but also on the other trails, on the roads. Sometimes they're in gangs. I don't mean that in a negative way, but they're grouped together, I think, because of commercial enterprise, and they are speeding on the roads beyond the speed limit in these large groups of people. But on the rec trail, especially in the shaded area of Berwick Park, where it's curvilinear, I've noticed there difficulty looking both ways 2 or 3 times, trying to avoid being run over by e-bikes, which are speeding. And I have not seen any enforcement. So that's why I'm echoing this comment. And while you're at it, how about just bicycle speeding on the rec trail? Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there another caller?
Yes, one more. Lisa Ciani.
Hi, thank you. Our rec trail is such an incredible resource. It's just phenomenal, the opportunities it gives so many experience the shoreline, you know, while walking or riding their bikes or whatever, and increase dramatically, increasingly, it's now e-bikes, e-scooters, skateboards, everything. And I am on the rec trail regularly because I monitor black oyster catchers and because I love walking there. It is extraordinarily distressing and scary what the situation is like down there now. There are kids on e-bikes that are doing wheelies and just all and waving back and forth over the walking part of the trail and the not motorized, the vehicle part of the trail. And lately, what I've been seeing is these 3 or 4 kids on e-bikes who are starting up on the grass in Berwick Park and coming tearing down the bank and across the walking trail and riding trail and up on the coastal side of the trail, and then going back and doing it over and over. It's just a matter of time until more people get hurt. And really, I don't know how this can be monitored except with a police officer on a e-bike themselves. There's no way to see them, to catch them. I mean, they just go zipping by me. So anyway, I really, really urge you to get this situation under control. This is such an amazing resource, and it's become just really, really dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online?
We have one more caller, Jane Haynes.
I'll be fast, but I just want to express my sincere appreciation for 4 things the city did for me this week. The first was Sandra. I mean, you all know how wonderful she is, but I couldn't download an agenda report. And I called her, said, Sandra, I can't download any of this thing. She said, come by. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. She said, come by at 12:45. That's her lunchtime. I did go by a little before 12:45. The door was locked. I sat outside. 12:45, she comes out and she gets me. She shows me how to download the agenda report. It's just like Sandra. You all of you know that. Second thing that happened to me was the agenda report itself. It was by a CDD staff member. I don't know, but his name is Garrett McCown. And it was a superb report. I want to read you just one sentence. It said the application included 2 phase 1 historic reports prepared by Meg Clovis in May 2025 and Kent Seavey in May 2025. I mean, that's evidence-based expression. And it was just, I just admired the quality of the report. And so I don't know Garrett McCown, but I commend him for an outstanding report. Third thing that happened was really a surprise. I almost didn't send in a suggestion I have. I thought it was a good suggestion. I thought, oh, they'll just say, there she goes again. No, I did send in the suggestion. Joyce Hallaby wrote me an email that said, thank you for taking the time to send us that suggestion. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I appreciated that. And then finally, there was a council member who did the same thing. The council member wrote and said that was a great suggestion. So I just want to say thank you. And I so much appreciate that kind of appreciation from the council. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Haynes.
No further callers.
No further comments? Okay. Okay. Consent item, consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Will approve.
Second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Is there anybody in the public that wishes to pull a consent item?
I do have a hand raised online, Mayor Pro Tem. Carol Marquardt?
Okay,
Yeah, Mayor, I might have missed that. Did you just a moment ago ask for approval of the consent agenda? Was that the?
no, I asked for general public comment. and
No, but I thought that there was something you just voted on, did I?
Yeah, consent agenda we did.
Okay, so my suggestion is that we allow, before you vote on the consent agenda, that we allow public comments.
Okay.
So let's try to figure out how to address that. Why don't we do a motion withdrawing the approval of the consent agenda? I understand it's a little clunky, but let's do that, get that off the record. Then let's take public comment and then on public, then you can ask the public if they want to pull an agenda item and then you vote on it.
Okay.
That we withdraw the consent agenda.
Okay. Thank you. So
Go to public comment.
public comment.
No. Or vote on that? Did you just vote on that?
I didn't vote on it.
Oh, we
There was no vote.
withdrew the vote. Now we have to go to public comment on consent agenda.
Did-
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a roll call on withdrawing the vote.
We didn't take a vote on we
Pardon
didn't,
me?
we never took a vote.
Okay. Do
Um,
Sandra take the vote on
There
it?
was a motion to approve the consent agenda, but it wasn't voted on. And then Mayor Pro Tem asked for
If anybody wanted.
if anybody wanted to pull.
Okay, then I misunderstood. I apologize. So now where we are is see if anybody from the public wants to pull an item or if anybody from the council wants to pull an item, and then you can vote on the consent agenda.
Does anybody in the public wish to pull a consent item?
I don't see anyone in person, but I do have a hand raised online. Carol Marquardt, do you wish to pull something from the consent agenda?
Hi, council person Joe Emilio. I mean, I really had my hand up for the public comment. I don't know why Sandra didn't see it, but I have a new Zoom program. I don't know what the reason was. May I make a public comment or is it too late?
It's not too late.
Thank you very much. So as I said, I just refreshed my Zoom program. I don't understand why we're spending 10 minutes on special DEI programs or nonprofits or, I'm all for it, but I want you to spend 10 minutes on other ethnic groups and other gender, sexual identities. I want 10 minutes for people with disabilities. I want 10 minutes for our wonderful new business, the Lighthouse Cinema, and 10 minutes for the grill at Point Lobos. There's golfers out there. There's people that love to eat there. They're closing down in November because the city is charging them $15,000 a month and they cannot afford it. They've done many repairs on the bathrooms. They employ 25 different people. They have greenskeepers. They do athletic programs. Please, can we get this on the agenda for October? Because we don't want to see the Point Lobos Grill go down the tubes. And please, golfers and people who eat, take notice of this. It's important. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else on the?
No further comment, public comment, Mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem, I would just suggest that you close public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close public comment and we'll go back to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move consent.
With that? I did.
Yes.
Nobody responded on pulling any items, so
Correct.
move to, looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Okay.
Seconds.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Good. Okay, we're going to move to 11A. Central Grand and Fountain Avenue Street Improvement Project, Mr. Go.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Emilio, members of the City Council. Let me load this up here. I have a brief presentation on this item today. So very pleased to be bringing this forward to you today, which is the Central Grand Fountain Avenue Street Improvement Project. Okay, so here's our current configuration. It's much bigger on the screen I'm looking at. Central Avenue, as you can see at the intersection of Fountain, is just a sea of asphalt. Nobody knows what to do when they get there, right? It's confusing. And then you go past the library and the new Kimpton Hotel to Central, and you have Grand Avenue with this wide sweeping corner. I presented this to the City Council back in June, if you recall. Okay, so the Central Avenue, Fountain, and Grand intersections. The intersection of Central and Grand and Fountain need to be reconfigured per the conditions of the approvals for the new Kimpton Hotel. The city has worked with the developer and engineered plans to make a four-way stop at Fountain, which will be a huge improvement, and improve pedestrian safety at Grand Avenue. At the June 4th, 2025 City Council meeting, which I just alluded to, Council approved the plans to reconfigure the intersections and also then to construct a bulb out at Grand and Central instead of raised crosswalks. Raised crosswalks were noticed in the architectural use permit which was approved in 2018. And don't quote me on it, but I believe again in 2022 when the hotel was transferred to Kimpton. When I brought this forward to you at the June 4th meeting, I talked about the raised crosswalk. We looked at it, we discussed it, me and the engineering team, and determined that a bulb out would be better because that raised crosswalk was supposed to go up Grand Avenue. It didn't really meet the purpose. Plus, I was concerned about putting a raised crosswalk on Central Avenue with all the special events we have there and so on and so forth, the road closures, the farmer's market, that type of thing. So we've created a bulb out, and I'm going to go back to my previous slide because I want to show you this right now. You can see the bulb out on Grand. So what we're doing with that is we're greatly reducing the crossing times across Central Avenue at Grand. And then we're going to, I was just talking to our engineering staff today, we'll install a crosswalk then also basically, which would be from the northwest corner of where the library is across to the new hotel. You don't see it on this plan set, but we're going to also put a crosswalk in at that location. That bulb out's going to slow traffic. It's going to really create a much happier pedestrian zone. Okay, so per council direction, we issued a request for proposals on July 3rd. And we received 4 bids. It was a pretty successful RFP. Monterey Peninsula Engineering has been qualified as the lowest responsible bidder at $657,000. That includes more than just the intersections, though. It includes the 4-way stop intersection at Fountain and Central, that bulb out, and all of those other ADA ramps, 1,650 square feet of new sidewalk, again, all the ramps, and over 26,000 square feet of new roadway. So that's the expensive part of the project, right, is the roads. That wasn't part of that condition 11 of the architectural use permit. That's something we feel needs to be done. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but like the PCI on Central was in the teens. It's crumbling, it's failing in front of the library. If we're going to go in there and do this work, now's the time to make those improvements on the roadway. And I believe we found the funding. And I will get to that. So again, here's the plan set. As you can see, all the new sidewalk is, I wish the cursor would show up on this. But all the new sidewalk is up here. There it is a little bit. You could see it is up here. So that's that sea of asphalt. build sidewalk up there, a driveway approach to a city parking lot, which will be overlaid with new asphalt, and then a driveway approach exiting that. 4 new stop signs or a 4-way stop at Fountain and Central. We are losing 1 parking spot in the new parking lot we're gonna create, but we're gaining on-street parking by getting rid of that funky yield that's going on there right now. And I guarantee we're gonna save a bunch of stop signs because I replace that stop sign in the middle of the road probably every 2 months by somebody driving over it. Okay, so here's how we're gonna fund the project with your approval. You set an initial budget of $270,000 in fiscal year 24-25 to begin this process. We've engineered it, we've designed it, we've obtained the coastal development permit because Central Avenue is in the coastal zone. So we've requested to make up the delta, $315,811 of regional surface transportation funding. So program funding, RSTP, which is administered through the Transportation Agency of Monterey County. That's our fair share allocation. Basically, we had that sitting in the bank for them. At their August 27th board meeting, they allocated that money towards this project. It's a perfect example, transportation project for these types of use. The developer will contribute $86,976. I broke it out, worked with the developer. That's the sidewalk work, that's the curb ramp work, that's the road markings, and kind of like everything minus the paving for the most part. But 25% of it, again, it's only 25% that they need to pay of that. So then the remaining balance, we have a delta of $124,000 that we need to come up with. So we have Measure X money sitting in our fiscal year 24-25 street rehab project. I did something similar right here for the sidewalk project, which you guys approved at the last city council meeting. We're requesting that money from Measure X sitting in the road rehab project be transferred. Now, not all of that is anticipated to be used. That's going to be for the contingency with Monterey Peninsula Engineering, and then to have our engineering firm, Neo Engineering, conduct and see any engineering questions that happen during construction. It's contingency money for the most part, minus about $25,000. So what we don't use of that will roll back into the street rehab project. Now we've basically have engineered the street rehab project to about 90% design. We're looking at $1.2 million for the roadways that we're going to be rehabbing with that project, which is Beacon, an alley, and 19th Street. That will be coming back at a future city council meeting. So we should still have enough to do the street rehab, even if we used all of the $120,000 that we're requesting to transfer, which it's the same purpose, the same funds. It's still being held in like Fund 63 and Fund 17. So our finance department can just roll it into this project instead of it sitting in, being unused for street rehab. So that's my request tonight. So tonight I'm requesting the city attorney to read the title of the ordinance, the title of the proposed ordinance. The ordinance is to accept the RSTP funding, the $315,000. That's not allocated in our budget. It's not allocated as a revenue. It's not allocated as an expense. So it needs to be brought into our budget via ordinance. Motion for the city attorney to waive further reading. You guys know how that goes. And then introduce and hold the first reading of the ordinance amendment, and then direct summary of the proposed ordinance. And then accept the payment by the Kipton Hotel developers in an amount of $86,976 per condition of 11 of the architectural use permit that can be harnessed for these street improvements. And then authorize the agreement with Monterey Peninsula Engineering for Central, Grand, and Fountain Avenue Street Improvement Project for an amount not to exceed $657,700 $634 plus a 10% contingency. I know we need 2 reads before this could be done officially. I will collect, if approved tonight, I will collect the certificates of insurance from Monterey Peninsula Engineering, draft the contract, have it ready to go as soon as, barring approval tonight, it's approved. I will then move forward come September 18th and launch out that contract. We hope to get going October 1st. We want to get this done prior to the hotel opening up and the rainy season. This is a paving and sidewalk project. We have no underground, but there's going to be disturbances. We're grinding out all of Central, most of Grand, Fountains, and Overlay. That concludes my report. I know it was a lot. I'm here for questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Go. Before we bring it back to the council, do we have any public comment?
I may be clueless, Daniel, but I don't know what a bulb out is. And I also don't know what a PGI is. So I'd appreciate it if you let us know. And I'd all had one other question, which was, you said you wanted to get this work done before the rainy season. When do you think projected it'll be done? That's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll address it. Thank you. Any other public comment? Anybody online?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Inga Lawrenson Dimer.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandra. I still have questions, because yes, this is all about the funding, which is very creative, Dango. And of course, this project has to move forward because it's untenable as it is with, I mean, the hotel has done more disruptions to library service with road closures anyway. I mean, it's been pretty bad for a handicapped person getting into the library. And I still want to know where this is going to have the book drop. All these other logistical things that, of course, are not part of this funding. But obviously, this has to be done. And we certainly want to open this hotel. It's caused us enough grief. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online?
Yes, Lisa Gianni.
Thank you. Yeah, this is obviously it's a very important intersection in PG, or a couple of intersections. I did hear Dan say, because Central Avenue is in the coastal zone, and all of the coastal zone is an archaeologically sensitive area. And I heard Dan say something about there wouldn't be any undergrounding, but there would be disturbance. It would seem that it would be more than a foot in depth. So that would require tribal monitoring. And I would like to know, I would like assurance that tribal monitoring will be provided by the city, provided for. And I'd like to know how the city is determining, selecting whether they will use the Ohlone Costanoan and Esalen Nation tribal monitors or the Esalen tribe tribal monitors, since both of those have expressed interest and concerns in PG and consultation. I'd like to know that the work is being divided, city work is being divided equitably between those two tribes. Thank you.
No further hands, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Thank you, Sandra. I think it's an excellent project. I'll start it off. And thank you, Mr. Go, for an excellent presentation. And I'm going to bring it back to the council, the rest of the council. Why don't we go with Councilman Member Rao, and then next
age before
Garfield.
beauty. As someone who's driven this intersection for the last, I'm just going to say 45 years because I don't want to really tell you how long it's been. This is a welcome change. This has been a problematic intersection for as long as I can remember, since I was 16 driving, and I can't wait for it to get done. So I appreciate the creative financing and the detail of the report. So I thank you, Mr. Go, for that. I'm in support of the project and ready to make a motion if, but
I wanted to also add how thrilled I am too. So I was on council when this project was initially approved. And one of the bonuses was that we were going to finally be able to fix that intersection before anyone died. This is, people scamper across that. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. And that one lane coming at you that doesn't stop confuses everyone. So turning this into a four-way stop with some traffic smoothing and slowing bulb outs is a brilliant thing. And thank you for getting rid of the raised crosswalks. Having driven a low slung car, they're real hard and it's real bad for bikes too. So I think coming up with another solution, although it cost maybe a little bit more, was a really smart idea. So the continuing attention to getting it done right is much appreciated. I do have a question about what happens to the farmer's market during all this.
Of course, Councilmember Garfield, I have spoken to Maris, and her last name slipping my mind, who runs Everyone's Harvest. And we anticipate minimal disruption because we're doing all the external work, like along the sidewalks and everything. They should still be able to have their Monday afternoon farmers market. Maybe we have to shift them one way or another a little bit. And then we'll just time the major paving around them. Yeah, that's my anticipation. Yet to be determined, though, we will meet with the contractor and lay out some of these constraints.
Thank you. I appreciate the
course.
flexibility.
Anybody else? Yes, yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple of interesting questions were brought up. One was in regards to how deep we were going to be going. You had said that you were going to grind that area out. My question would then be, are we planning on penetrating the profile of the man-made materials in the area? Or are we just basically doing like a kind of a deep resurfacing? Are we going to be digging down into soil? Like what's our penetration in the affected area?
We don't anticipate going much farther than the base fill that's already existing.
Okay.
And to answer the question that was brought up by Ms. Chiani, we will have archaeological and tribal monitors present during any excavation of subsoils, which is basically below existing pavement and base fill. So some of that demos of the sidewalks would trigger and the curb ramps because you got to go deeper to set your forms. But typically for roadway reconstruction, no.
Okay.
Yes.
Second question that I thought was interesting was, do you have a projected finish date on the project if you get going on October 1st?
I tried to pull up the technical specifications that list the days allowed for the project. And I believe it was like 70 working days, though I anticipate it being done much sooner than that. So 70 days from October 1st would be just into the beginning of December timeframe, right? Around then. So I hope to be done, but but that's also the striping and, you know, the markings on the roadway and all that type of stuff.
Sure.
So that takes, let the pavement cure for a week or so before you even come back to do that. So there's 7 to 10 days just right there. So with the temporary markings.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Councilmember Walking Stick, for addressing a couple of those. And then just because we also had the question about describing the bulb out in the PCI, just so that's available for people.
A bulb out is basically like a sidewalk extension. So for example, we built a huge bulb out, which is a picture right there, where they had the 3 restaurant dining areas, right? That's a big bulb out. So we'll be building a smaller version of something like that outside of the museum at the corner of Grand and Central. PCI, it's not PGI, it's PCI, Pavement Condition Index. So every 3 years, we rate our roadways and the condition of the roads, and you get a numerical number between 1 or 0 and 100. Unfortunately, we have a couple of zeros that we're addressing. Okay, so that's PCI. And then I think we talked about end date, which was the other question.
Yeah, and thanks. And from the bulb out too, the advantage is by bulbing the sidewalks out, you create that kind of smaller square intersection. So you're reducing the amount of time it takes for pedestrians to have to cross. So it kind of minimizes their impact with the flow of traffic that way.
That's correct.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. And I think it's really a great opportunity for a win-win. It gives us the opportunity to kind of partner with the hotel for the portion they have to cover as far as the cost, but using that opportunity to do the full paving all around it and create a safer intersection overall. Thanks.
Councilmember Rob?
Any chance that it could start before October 1st?
Potentially.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I'm going to say yes, it will, but it won't, you won't see it breaking ground starting. We'll be getting all the submittals, the material submittals. So then they tell us like what type of asphalt they're going to use. And they start giving us all of those concrete submittals and drainage submittals and stuff like that. Right. So we collect all that paperwork. So when we're ready to rock and roll with construction, we're ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
So I would say October 1st is probably a good breaking ground timeframe. But we will start collecting information at probably as early as tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have anything? Okay. Anybody like to make a motion?
My recommendation is that the first thing you do is ask me to read the title of the ordinance.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pacific Grove amending the operating and capital projects budget for fiscal year 2025-2026. And then the remaining items under recommendation that could all be done in one motion. And the motion would read, move to approve the remaining items in the recommendation.
Move to move the remaining items of the recommendation, if I can talk.
That's first. Second?
Second?
Okay. Councilmember Rao. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass unanimously, except one.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. The next item is B, which is the resolution amending resolution 25-020 for date of circulation, and Mr. Perrig.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this item is involving, as you've indicated, two actions. One is in connection with a resolution to amend Resolution 25-020, which accepted the certification of sufficiency of the referendum against Ordinance 25-007, increasing the compensation of the mayor and city council members. The council was presented with a errata of that ordinance, excuse me, of that resolution at your meeting on August 20th. And and you now have an errata for the meeting tonight, which accepts all of those changes. And there is one other change that's necessary to that resolution that's in the errata. That's in section 9 of the resolution. There's a stray number 2. So I'll just read how it is and how it should be. It says signatures and then there's a number 2, certification. And that should instead read signatures and certification without that 2 in there. So we had a stray 2 somehow found its way in there. So that'll be removed. And so that is what the resolution is that's before you tonight. It'd be the one that's in the errata and with the additional change of removing that number 2. So that's the first recommendation. The second recommendation relates to an ordinance. And again, this one comes from your meeting on August 20th, where the council approved a motion to direct staff to return to the council at your meeting tonight with an ordinance repealing ordinance 25-007 and to return to the council at a future meeting for a discussion of a possible ballot measure to present in 2026 for a public vote on an ordinance increasing the salary of the mayor and city council members. The only portion that is on your agenda tonight is the ordinance to repeal ordinance 25-007. So tonight would be a first reading of that ordinance to appeal. And so that is something that you should be aware of. And I should also mention that the ordinance does need two corrections. The ordinance that's in your packet in section 4 currently reads, it says city charter section 16 states. Instead, that should read Article 16 of the city charter states. So that's section 4 of the ordinance. And then section 10, we've got that straight too, somehow found its way in here. So that currently reads signatures and it's got the number 2 certification. And instead that should read signatures and certification. So those are the changes that would be necessary to the ordinance. So the actions tonight that are being recommended are, first would be the motion to adopt the resolution amending resolution 25-020 as it is found in the errata. And then the remaining recommendations that are in the agenda report are to request that I read the title and then the balance of the recommendations as you can see in the agenda. So I'm available to answer questions if you have any.
Okay, why don't we go out to the public for public comment? Is there anybody online, Sandra?
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Emilio, I do not see any hands raised online.
Okay, anybody in the audience? No? Okay, I'll bring it back to the council. Yes, Ms. Garfield.
Just a little housekeeping detail. There was something in there about changing a date where signatures were collected. Was that covered in the errata as well?
It is. It is. Thank you for bringing that up. Let me mention that that would be the dates for the circulation of the petition. That's in section 12 of the resolution, and it correctly states that the circulation of the petitions commenced on June 6th of 2025 and concluded on July 7th, 2025. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Sure.
So the recommended action would first be to have a motion to approve the resolution amending resolution 25-020. So if there's a motion on that.
Okay, see if anybody else has any more questions on the.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear any.
Sorry. Just nobody else? Okay, go ahead.
So the first recommendation is a motion to adopt the resolution amending resolution 25-020
I recommended action
on number 1.
on number 1.
Yeah.
All those wishing to approve that? Aye. Mr. Perrick, what's the next step here?
Yeah, we should announce that that was a unanimous vote.
Yeah, unanimous.
Right. So now I'm hearing that you want me to read the title and the ordinance, which I'll do. This is ordinance of the City Council of the City of Pacific Grove, repealing ordinance 25-007, increasing the compensation of the mayor and city council members. So now that I've read the title, the final motion that you could make would be that you would move recommendations 3 through 5.
Move recommendations 3 to 5.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved, good, and -1.
Motion carries, yes.
And that passed unanimously,
Unanimous, yes.
except for the mayor,
Yeah.
who's not here.
Okay. Now we'll move on to 12A, Artificial Intelligence Framework and Policy. Mr. Perduri?
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Sandra, I did at least
create a brief deck. Could you please pull that up?
Thank you. Give me just one moment. My apologies.
Yeah, and while she's pulling it up, I just wanted to mention that AI has certainly proliferated, at least my world, my company's world, and everywhere I go. That's all that I see today. And this is just to make sure that we're ahead of the curve with what is transpiring with the artificial intelligence kind of world generally, because it is just like any other technology pervading our lives, and it's going to pervade the city's lives too eventually. So with that, I did have a brief presentation. Obviously, we can go at length at it, but did want to keep it a little bit short. If you can go, yeah, thank you, Sandra. So I just wanted to at least give a brief background on how AI came to be, and I think I think there were three, I would say, events, so to speak, which has driven to AI where it is today. One is that the concept of neural networks, which was long examined but never took off, actually had a tipping point, so to speak, in the early 2010s. At the same time, for artificial intelligence to actually kick things off, you need a lot of processing power. And what happened then was the CPU that we notice today, which is used in the computers, has a certain processing power. But there's also another component called GPU, which is used in gaming devices, which has a lot of processing power. So as time went on, both of these hardware kind of technologies, they dropped price significantly. And GPU actually took on the role of like powering AI related material. So that was another event that kind of like combined with the neural network, kind of triggered things off. And the third thing is really ever since the internet has been in existence, we've just been collecting data all along. And so there's always been like large amounts of data that has existed, but nobody's actually processed that large amounts of data. So you combine this neural network, this really big processing power that you have, and the large amounts of data that exists, and you essentially come upon something where you can actually have something think through more smartly to make decisions. And so that's why we're here. And it's technically just like anything else. The first computer chip was bigger than a room, and now it's on our phones. It's the same concept. Like it's coming to, it's no longer confined to laboratories. It's now here. And what really it's driving many things, but I think I'm looking at it from a city perspective. So they're like really making city more smarter in many aspects. So with that, can we go to slide number 3, please? And you will hear this very, I would say it's becoming commonplace, but if not, I'll just make a reference here at least, is that there are different types of, I would say, artificial intelligence. They broadly kind of branch out into what is called predictive AI, generative AI, and perceptive AI. Predictive AI is really something where AI looks at historical kind of data to predict what is going to happen in the future. So the very common element is like traffic patterns, because you know what is happening in the past, so you can say what is happening in the future. So that's where predictive AI comes. Generative AI is where think of it as like a storytelling machine. So AI can think through what can be done and create something new. So that's where you see all these like fancy images, data, videos, and everything. These are all generative services. And then perceptive AI, just as the name indicates, it's like perception, meaning you're giving the sensory perceptions to AI. So like vision and sound, etc. So think of it as like cameras and places like that in public safety, where you can use perceptive AI so that the technology can actually look at things and decipher what needs to happen next. So that typically those are like the general realms, and there are use cases over there. Next slide, please. And so really the crux for me to bring this into the equation is, why do we need this? I don't know how many of you have actually watched that show called Black Mirror. But effectively, I don't want a Black Mirror episode here in the city. So that's one big thing. The other thing too is just like any other technology, AI is still learning. In fact, it probably still exists right now, but if you go to Google Chrome and you just say, was last year 2024? And Google Chrome will, AI will say, no, it's not 2024. And so it exists right now. You can do it right now if you want. But the thing is, think of it as any other software product. Software product goes through iterations, and fact of the matter is AI isn't there in production at this point. It's still like in a beta phase. So it's like going through all these iterations. Meanwhile, being that it's so prevalent, people have started using it all over the place. So it's still risky to use it. And so like it does have biases. So the first thing is like, I remember Amazon had an instance where it was using the predictive AI technology to scan through resumes. And most of the Amazon, being a technology company, most of the resumes were coming from males. And so the AI developed a bias to say only males should be kind of picked up. Only those resumes need to be picked up, and ignore any resumes where there's a mention of, say, women in it. Like, for example, you're a Women's Girl Scout Foundation or something, then ignore that resume. They caught on to that, but they never actually were able to stop it from learning or taking that bias out. So they had to scrap that entire project. Similarly, models can make mistakes. And a prime case is where you had, I think this was in 2024, but there were cases in New York where some folks within the legal industry had used AI to present some kind of like arguments for their case. And AI spit out a lot of fictitious kind of cases out there for them to present. And so there was obviously like there was a fine and all that going on, but point being, AI does make mistakes. And so that's an important point that I want to say. And then data privacy, this is like a very big, I would say, item from a privacy standpoint. Think of like the city, like wanting to, cities currently using, for example, we just blessed something from Monterey Peninsula Engineering. Now, is any data going to Monterey Peninsula Engineering through all of this? And is any resident data being transferred? And how are they actually using this resident data over there? I don't, we haven't defined all those. And really the point of this policy is to ensure that we're not going to be under the microscope for anything in the future if we are using any AI technology and if the city gets sued on it. So I listed some of the things here, but what I see generally in the industry is you have AI training, you have AI kind of compliance built into all of the systems. You have a level of access that you can provide to your employees for how much AI can be used. You decide what kind of an AI model do you want to use, and you want to integrate all of these components with all of the divisions that you have within the city. So that's there's a number of questions here, but I wanted to list that these are some of the factors that we do need to consider. And with that, if you go to the last slide, my view is that this is a prime moment for us to review while we are going through some IT-related exercises to just develop a citywide AI framework / policy for the council to review. My suggestion is 6 months. Of course, we can defer there, but there are resources, and I listed one each of like a city and county and a school district that are there in California that are being used. I can certainly tell you that when I attend conferences, a lot of cities are far ahead of the curve with respect to AI technology. We had a PCI item today, Payment Condition Index. I have seen other cities strap on a camera to public vehicles, and essentially that camera senses what the payment condition index is based on where the public vehicle is roaming around the city. So it's just a smarter way of doing things. Point being, other cities are ahead of the curve with respect to AI adoption. And I think we'll get there, but if you have a policy in place, it will all make us feel safer and better. So with that, I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Okay, why don't we, before we go to the council here, see any public comment? Anybody online?
Hi, we have two hands raised online. Lisa Chiani.
Thank you. I just appreciate that Councilmember Paduri brought this item forward. Yeah, there's so much we don't know, but we need to start somewhere. We need a policy, and so I really appreciate it because it is a big scary thing, even though it has some wonderful advantages. When it says staff develop this, develop the framework and policy. Are we talking about, because I'm sorry, I don't remember what the agenda report said, but are we talking about our IT staff would be doing this, or what staff would have the capacity and time to do this? Or is this involve extra funding as well? Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else online, Sandra?
Yes, we have one more hand raised. Inga Lawrence and Dimer.
Thank you, Sandra. I appreciate Councilmember Paduri bringing this forward because I find this whole thing absolutely frightening and scary. And this is, remember, I am a person who will not even use a cell phone. And America, the countries, it's the world gives their lives to their cell phones and to technology, does not protect itself, does not question, and computers are only as good as what was put into them. And now it's generating its own set of extrapolations. I mean, this is just an incredibly frightening thing. Liability? I mean, yes, we need some sort of framework, Councilmember Paduri, but if you think that anything is ever going to be contained on this, I don't think that's possible. It's just a rampant free-for-all now. And frankly, I'm glad I'm at this end of my life rather than beginning, because this is probably one of the most frightening aspects of technology. To me, of course. Everybody else hauls out their cell phone and just punches away with abandon. So thank you for bringing something up, and I hope you come up with something. But since it's really only as good as what we know now, I don't think that's going to be a whole hell of a lot. But if you want to try and protect us, well, give it your best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sandra, is there anybody else on?
No further hands raised, Mayor.
Then I'll bring it back to the council. Any comments? Yes, Councilmember Garfield.
Thank you. So it seems like this is, as Councilmember Paduri said, there are some cities that have taken some steps to give us some examples. Is the League of California Cities also working on this as a policy and framework so that we can get some expert advice?
Councilmember, there have been conferences actually over the last couple of years, just specifically on AI through the City Managers Association and the League of Cities. So we will, at your direction, we will dial into that a little bit more and see what models and policies are out there and start to pull that information together.
Okay. Sometimes I think it's good to be at the lead and sometimes it's good to be second.
Okay, Councilmember Rao?
Does, Mr. Mogensen, does 6 months seem realistic? Do you need less time, more time?
I believe 6 months is a good starting point for us to, yeah, be able to see what we can pull together and if it, how confident we feel in it. If we need to come back and just check in with you and tell you where we are so far and get more feedback, then we'll do that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, yes, Lori.
Thank you. Yeah, I do actually appreciate this. I know that I have a lot of friends who work directly in AI. They're teaching us a lot of tools at work with the understanding that AI is out there. People will use it. And one of the most important things is for people to understand these risks and what the tools really do and don't. Different tools, good for different things. AI is great at creating hallucinations and just making things up, because until the most recent version of ChatGPT, apparently AI couldn't tell you, I don't know. So it would make something up that sounded really plausible. I've actually used it to search for things or to like help write things, and it will actually cite a code that doesn't exist. So it's very important to check the sources and make sure that they're actually pulling in accurate information. And so to this point, I think this is an important idea because with this would come training. So I think it's really important that people understand how to write prompts that actually get you what you're looking for, and instead of what maybe AI is misinterpreting your meaning to be. So I think the more we have the understanding of what the tools actually do, where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are, so that city staff can utilize them, they actually can be really great for making a lot of tasks easier and saving a lot of time, as long as we have kind of guidelines in place that tell us how to use that in an effective way and a safe way. So I think that it's a good starting point. And I also wanted to search for other ideas that are out there so we don't have to take a lot of staff time. I know it's sort of in our council goals with our technology focus on bringing in tools that will help us be more efficient. So AI definitely has the capacity to do that as long as we're checking its results. And so I think providing that kind of training so that we're at the front edge instead of the trailing behind edge and not fully utilizing it in the right way, I think would be valuable. So if we can, I like the idea that the city manager presented, that we bring back ideas from other areas that would be a good fit for us. So it's not taking a lot of staff time, and then we can, maybe tweak as need be if needed for our own community. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. First of all, Chapsy did a wonderful job. This is excellent. This is highly related to what my day-to-day life is. And I've got a certification in business AI, including business analysis and implementation. And this is a perfect first step. This focuses on creating the guidelines and use cases instead of the what. We want to first address the why and the how before we address the what. This is for the people that are worried about, we're going to install our robot overlords with this. This is simply to give us the guidelines and what our considerations should be for AI implementation. First things first, we look at the business needs, the business impacts, and the human needs and the human impacts of any proposed solution. So creating boundaries, creating guidelines first and foremost becomes our primary interest. So this is fantastic first step. I had two points that I wanted to discuss with you, which is under on page 48, under number 4, guidelines of potential prohibitions. The last comment here, specifically, staff should research and recommend any types of AI uses that should be strictly regulated, which is okay, subject to enhanced scrutiny, okay so far, or explicitly prohibited due to high risks in civil liberties or potential for discrimination. I don't think that we want them to research and recommend explicitly prohibited uses. That's it. That's how that reads. So I would think the or in that, or explicitly prohibited due to high risk, should be and are not explicitly prohibited due to high risk to civil liberties and potential for discrimination. I think that's the spirit of where we're going with that. Again, I don't think that needs to change the motion, but I did want that brought up to the city. So they didn't take that a certain way. The second thing was, the one thing I would add to this is also including considerations for risk mitigations to protect against material damages. We had a lot of protecting human beings from discrimination or the machine, the system itself working against human interests. But there's also the city as a unit itself that needs to be protected as well. For instance, material damages could be something like your financial management system having direct control of your bank account. And AI and its infinite wisdom decides you really need to invest everything in Cisco right now in order to make a bundle, and they just divert all the money over there. If it has control of the bank account, it can do that, and it can put us under immediately. So those are the types of considerations that I'd want in our guidelines as well, just so that it's a kind of a comprehensive plan or comprehensive set of boundaries going forward. That'd be it. Everything else, it's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, points well taken, and thank you for the additions. And ultimately, I want the staff to decide what is best for the city. And my view is that this is not confined to one department, like IT only. There are several companies, for example, Clearview is a great example. Clearview used public images to develop like facial recognition, and now it's sued because it's used public images without anybody asking for them, and it's actually in the business of public safety. So public safety is a big element in this, and I don't see this as one department only. So whenever staff looks into it, I somehow want this to be across all divisions. Like financial division is a great example now. Public safety is another. So ultimately, we're going to review it, but I do want you to look at it at an enterprise level. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a comment. Thank you, Councilmember Paduri, for bringing this up. I do know the only thing I'm familiar with is that I've heard from an unnamed council member in Monterey County that that person uses it to, if they have to deal with something on the agenda, we'll do an AI follow-up on it that person would know and understand it. Then I also know of a professor at a local college that a lot of his AI, he can't tell if it's written essays by the person or that it's AI written. He doesn't have that yet. And I'm sure they're probably going to be developing a policy on that too. So that's my only comment. I think it's initial, and it'd be interesting to see. I know Councilmember Paduri put together 3 or 4 places, 2 or 3 places that have it and don't reinvent the wheel. Some of us will be going to Long Beach, and I'm sure there'll be an AI session going on there that will probably be pretty crowded, I'm assume. So that's my only comment. Does anybody have any, I'm sorry, Mr. Morganson, did you have anything?
When the council was finished discussing, I just wanted to make sure we understood fully your direction. I think I got it, but double check.
Okay. Do I have a motion to, the recommended action is a motion to direct the city manager to initiate the development of comprehensive citywide artificial intelligence, AI framework and policy for council review and adoption. I think that's just a motion. Am I correct?
So
Okay. Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Yeah, discussion?
I just wanted to clarify, does that help or not?
It does, we could also talk offline. I just want to make sure the content, because you mentioned perhaps we're not just only looking at a policy that is like a regulatory, but also what can we do with this? Some enterprise functions within the city. That's what you said as well.
Yeah, and it actually says comprehensive citywide in the motion itself. Okay. So I read that to mean enterprise, but yeah, we can talk offline.
Okay. Yes.
And a follow on to that, because I'm kind of going on the recommendation is based on the agenda report. I think looking at what kind of training would be valuable for that would be important too, because that will be, I think, a very important step of making sure that the staff knows what the capabilities are and how to actually utilize it in the most effective way, as well as knowing what the policies are. Very much.
Okay. Did you have anything else? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, nobody opposed except one not here.
Thank you.
Did you get direction, Mr. Mogensen?
I did. And I think we have the perfect deputy city manager who had this up well for us. So
Okay. Now we're going to go to the Dancing Monarchs art donation location. And I don't see George first, and I'm assuming Mr. Go.
I'm up here just to let you know that George First will be presenting today via Zoom. He has a
Oh, okay.
presentation, and I'm available for any questions, but so will be Mr. First.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. First.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'm returning to you today with the location suggestions for the Dancing Monarchs sculpture. It's being proposed as a donation by Mr. and Mrs. John and Jan Stewart. I believe Jan is with you today in the audience. And just a reminder of what the sculpture looks like. It's one of a series by an artist named Peter Hazel out of Reno. So this is just one example of the sculpture. I don't think any of them are exactly alike, but you can get the idea of what it will look like from this picture and some others that I'll show. So a quick reminder, it's fused glass monarch butterflies on stainless steel vine. And the intention by the donor is to keep the stainless steel vine raw stainless steel. So a silvery metal appearance with the fused monarchs in a spiral pattern. So the artist, Peter Hazel, is completing the work this year. It's currently being commissioned and being worked on. The dimensions are approximately 12 feet tall by 6 feet in diameter. Similar installations have been installed at Water Sound, Florida, Yountville, California, Incline Village, California, and I believe the original was installed at Jimmy Carter's residence in Plains, Georgia. And further details of the piece are in the attached proposal. And here's just some more visuals. I believe this is the installation in Yountville, a close-up of the monarchs. I believe this is the installation at Incline Village, but it kind of shows you that no two pieces are exactly alike. And I believe this is the one in Plains, Georgia. And you note that this one is quite a bit bigger. So there's a range of sizes available. Quick background, the BNRC considered this donation in April of this year and recommended that council accept the donation. May of this year, City Council voted to receive the art donation and directed staff to return with site selection suggestions. After which staff discussed possible sites internally, took any feedback from the public that was gathered at both the BNRC and the council meetings, and also met with the donor Jan and kind of scouted out all the different locations we could think of and weighed all the pros and cons, put together a rubric. And to be honest, it was challenging. It's a very subjective thing to pick a site for something like this. So here are the proposed locations. And I want you guys to keep in mind that all locations have pros and cons. The kind of staff favorite was, and this is actually the bulb out that was mentioned earlier in the meeting as part of the intersection rehab project, but this is in front of the Pacific Grove Natural Museum, the Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History. And there is like a demonstration rain garden there. So it's already full of native and pollinator plants. It already has a nice fence, and it kind of doesn't have 360-degree wraparound viewing, but it's close to it with maybe 250 or 270 degree. And the viewing area is going to increase with the intersection rehab project. So we like this spot because it has high visibility, strong thematic ties to monarchs and the natural history and education goals of the museum. The environment for the sculpture is contained by the sidewalk, in that there's an ability to monitor the sculpture, through cameras at the museum or cameras at the library. It's kind of in what we consider a more secure location of town. And it could serve as a waypoint potential to draw visitors to the downtown from the coast. The big con here is that it lacks the coastal backdrop preferred by the donor. Since putting this list together and posting the agenda, the donor has made it really clear that she has a very strong preference that this sculpture go somewhere along the coast. So that is the big downside of this location, is that it's not on the coast, which is very much preferred by the donor. The next location, and this is actually the original location that was included in the art donation proposal by Miss Stewart. This is at Lovers Point, but it's kind of at you call it the Greater Lovers Point Park, but I think it's technically Chase Park East. It's below the intersection of Forest and Ocean View at the center of this paved circle. So this is a relatively new landscaping work with pavers and a circular bench area, and it's well used. People use this area to congregate. People do sit on the benches. People use this area to view the ocean, the bay, and Lovers Point. So this would kind of be the centerpiece as you're driving down Forest to the coast. And I think the sculpture would fit really nicely in that circle. We'd have to pull up some of the pavers and build a pedestal and some sort of a guardrail around it. And the kind of assessment here is that there's high visibility. It would be visible to a lot of foot traffic, but also a lot of motor vehicle traffic. It has the scenic coastal backdrop preferred by the artist and the donor. The downsides are that it may compete with already iconic views. Any art piece is not going to be kind of universally loved. There's going to be naysayers that don't like it, and they might complain that there's a natural beauty to our bay and our coastline, that it doesn't need any man-made additions, and that this new piece of art is going to compete with what's already our scenic beauty. And it could disrupt the open space feel. This is an area where people congregate, and that may become more difficult with the piece there. And staff's concern here also is that we know that vandalism is an issue on the rec trail. I think it's hard for our police department to always patrol with full coverage on the rec trail at nighttime. And we have had instances of the mural being vandalized along the rec trail a little further down by Berwick Park. The bathrooms along the rec trail are regularly vandalized. And that was an issue where this area that is not very well lit at nighttime, and the population at nighttime that's moving on the rec trail is a weak point of this spot for this sculpture. The next location, so those were the original first two preferred locations. This original spot at Lovers Point as specified by the donor, and then at the museum. These other locations I'm going to run through fairly quickly that were proposed along the way. One spot that was proposed is Perkins Park along the walking path, and specifically this area near the seawall. And it had high visibility, a scenic coastal backdrop, could compete with the already iconic views, could disrupt the open space feel, again, vulnerable to vandalism in the elements. And the biggest problem here is that there's just not a lot of space, and the ground is not super stable. We regularly have washouts of the DG paths here. We have shifting of these seawalls, and it didn't feel like a real permanent place for such a sculpture that sits so high in the air. So this was not a preferred location. Another considered location was City Hall Plaza. Again, it does not have the coastal backdrop preferred by the donor. Medium low visibility because there's not a tremendous amount of foot traffic in this area. And it just didn't seem to fit that nicely in the planter boxes or the current landscaping. Another area was the center divide at Lighthouse in Erdley. So this is where a lot of people enter into town if you're driving from Monterey and you're coming up by 7-Eleven or the gas station and you turn on to Lighthouse. We have a nice welcome to Pacific Grove sign, and there is a little circular bulb of DG walking path that I think could have hosted the sculpture nicely, but really very little foot traffic, even though there might be a good amount of motor vehicle traffic. So medium visibility. And again, it's not a well-lit area, and it could potentially be vulnerable to vandalism. So this was not a preferred location. And here's kind of the sleeper candidate that, to be honest, when I first considered it, I wasn't that excited about it. But Jan suggested this, and the more and more I thought of it, the more I thought this might be, this maybe should be considered as a preferred candidate with the other two. This is a planter box that is at Lovers Point Park, below the beach house, kind of right in between the pool, the beach house restaurant, and then the beach. And it has one advantage that it's already raised. So I think it would make that a little easier as far as protecting the sculpture and building a kind of a moat around it, or a small fence around it. It's being utilized currently with plants, but to be honest, they're nothing special. There's no trees or any plants that we can't replace or improve on by putting somewhere else nearby. And it gives the kind of coastal scenic backdrop, but without blocking anybody else's view. So it's not going to block somebody's resident or someone that lives just on the opposite side of Ocean View and is used to seeing the ocean. They're not going to all of a sudden have a sculpture blocking their view. And it has extremely high foot traffic, even though it has minimal, or I should say zero, motor vehicle traffic. So medium visibility, but high foot traffic visibility. And I think it could really define this small space and be the centerpiece here, where people kind of mill around and go to the pool, go to the little cafe, or walk between the open field area of Lovers Point Park and the beach. Again, though, the con here is that this could potentially be vulnerable to vandalism and the weather. Here's an aerial shot to show you what we're talking about. I hope you guys are familiar, but it's, the beach house restaurant has a small cafe on the lower level, and then their kind of fine dining restaurant up on their upper level. And the whole restaurant is raised above where this stairway and the entrance to the bathrooms at the lower level. And then there's sort of the two levels with outdoor dining on the kind of slightly raised level. And then there's a footpath to the right that looks over the rock wall down onto the beach. So it's that box right there in the middle. And in order to modify that, we'd have to remove those plants, remove the dirt, or at least some of the dirt, and then cement in a pedestal there. And then just a quick kind of reference here. I want to run through the existing sculptures on the coastline, just to kind of give everybody a little background on what the city has done in the past with similar donations. There's two sculptures at Berwick Park. We have a bronze sculpture by Christopher Bell on the right, and that is in kind of the one open area where there's no trees. So they have this little cement pad. The sculpture is maybe 5 or 6 feet tall and sits on this pedestal. And there's some landscaping surrounding it, but it opens up to the bay, but it has no trees overhanging it, and it's not blocking the main grassy area where people tend to recreate or sunbathe or picnic. And then on the left here, we have the kind of more recently installed, and I should say that that bronze sculpture on the right was installed, I think, around 1994. Then you have the whales on the left that were carved from a dying tree. And those are the closest to the size of what this butterfly sculpture likely will be, because I think those whales are about 12 feet tall. And they sit just outside of the tree line now, because they used to be trees. But they're not blocking anybody's view because they're surrounded by trees. And they do sit right in the middle of the grassy area. And then here at Lovers Point, we have two sculptures in the grassy area of the park. On the right, you have the little boy with the sailboat, and on the left, you have the granite monarch butterfly. The little boy is on a rock pedestal, and then the granite monarch is on a kind of monolithic granite pedestal. And these ones I'm not sure exactly when they were installed, but I think they've been there for decades. And these are both 5 or 6 feet tall. So the broader consideration here, the sculpture really could be placed anywhere in the city. The proposed locations are not an exhaustive list. So just because they're on this list doesn't mean that are their only options. Every location has trade-offs. The community value of open space should be weighed against cultural arts enrichment. And my big thing when I made this list was to avoid creating sculpture gardens in natural open space and to maintain a balance between art and preservation of the scenic character of our city. So with that, we hope to have council direction on the location for the Dancing Monarch sculpture. So happy to answer any questions. And I know Jan, I was expecting to be in the audience, so I know that she's happy to answer questions as well.
Okay, let's go out to public comment. Anybody out? Okay, why don't we do the audience first?
Hello, my name is Susan Goldbeck from Pacific Grove, and I'd like to cast my vote here for the location in front of the museum. The museum, as you know, is the home of the Monarchs. We've got a brand new hotel there. A lot of people don't like it, but it's here. It's going to be a very active area. We have a lot of our public functions in Jewel Park, and I think it would be really lovely to have it right there in front of the Monarch's home in the museum. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience?
Sally Moore, and I consider the Lover's Point a good location. The donor is hoping for that. I think that was one of the ideas that she liked. And as far as it goes, I'm wondering who would be responsible if there is vandalism. It could happen anywhere, could even happen if it's in front of the museum. So why don't we think about Lover's Point? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience? Yes.
Good evening, council members. I'm Jan Stewart. I'm the donor along with my husband, John. I just would like to emphasize how we would love to see the sculpture placed in a position where it will just sparkle and be amazing and be visible from 360 degrees because it is a sculpture. So it's nice to have the idea of being able to see it from all directions. And the other thing that we've thought about originally too was using it as or having the city use it as a symbol of Butterfly Town, USA, and as an opportunity for people hopefully to take photographs of it with themselves in front of it or their friends or family like they do with the whales at Berwick Park, with the view of our iconic coastline in the background. So I can envision that being a nice way to help promote the city. If it's located at that intersection of Forest and Ocean View, I think that would also serve as a bit of a wayfinding tool for people to know that that's where we could meet up and then walk into town or meet up and, go out for dinner or whatever, that it could be somewhat of a meeting place, a place for people to congregate. There's already seating there. And if you looked at, I don't know if you're really familiar with it, but there's kind of block seating all the way around. And the idea would be that it would be somewhat in the center so that people could view the sculpture from all angles. So we're delighted, and I want to thank you for your consideration. We're delighted to be able to offer this to the city. And I want to make a special shout out to George first and city staff for all the work they're doing, trying to figure this out, because you can only imagine how many different places you could put something like this. And especially in a town with so much coastline and so many beautiful places. So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Let's go online. Sandra?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Inga Lawrence Dormer.
Thank you, Sandra. And I too want to thank George first for extensively researching all the different locations that, and he came up with quite a few. I am one of those people who would like to see our coastline and our beautiful ocean views unobstructed. To that note, I think the museum is actually, I guess it was Susan Goldbeck who said that is the monarch. You know, they feature the monarch butterfly garden and etc. And the second one is the Lover's Point down below by the beach house. Not that circle. That is an unobstructed gathering place view where the beauty, our natural beauty, should not end up with a Disneyland like a. The sculpture is gorgeous, but it doesn't belong there. So my choices are the music, my votes are the museum and by the beach house there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other people on
Online, yes.
online?
Pro Tem, we have, I see two more hands raised. Lisa Gianni?
Thank you. Wow. Well, thank you again to Ms. Stewart for this donation. It's just seems so perfect for PG and so generous. And thank you to George. That was an excellent presentation and so much thoughtful consideration of different locations and the fact and giving us the objective pros and cons, but acknowledging it's a very subjective decision. I I'm torn, but I really would like to honor the artists and the donors' first choice of placing it in that circle. That circle was originally designed to have a sculpture in the middle of it. It was going to be at one time a bust of Julia Platt. This is quite different from that, but it would be lovely there, especially when you think about the fact that there used to be monarchs along the coast, flitting along the coast. And I have seen a few. Oh my goodness, and they look so tiny there. And I love this concept of making them big and gorgeous, like, you know, which is the feeling that goes along with them. So, I mean, first, I would encourage that, even though I think the vandalism risk it seems huge, considering the amount of vandalism in that area. But that would be one. And then I would very much otherwise like to see it at the museum, which is a perfect setting for so much opportunity for up close observation and enjoyment from right there in front of the museum, from the park, from the library, it would be wonderful, but it lacks the ocean. So I wish you luck in making a decision here. I would like to say, for an ocean setting, I would not like it by the bathrooms at the beach house. Somehow, you know, the public bathrooms. It just that really, to me, detracts from it. So there's my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Gianni. Any other people online?
Yes, sir. One more. Sharon Miller?
Wow, we have such generous people in this town. Makes me proud. And it was such a clear description of the sculpture and the various sites that are being considered. I just am in awe of what George has done there. My vote would have to be for the circle down at Lover's Point. I walk down there a lot, and it is boring in that circle. To have this beautiful sculpture in there, I think would be excellent. If people want an unobstructed view, which I don't think glass sculptures are going to obscure the view all that much, they can walk a few steps and they're right there looking out at the bay with an unobstructed view. I wonder if there is a way to help vandal proof something like this. I don't know what the cost is, what the technical capabilities are, but some kind of camera and a little note that be careful because you are on candid camera right now. That might help to cut down. But anyway, my vote would be for the circle at Lover's Point. And I look forward to seeing wherever it is. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other, Senator? No, okay.
No, sir.
Let's go ahead and bring it back to the council. And I have a question for Mr. First. In regards to Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History, has the director been contacted of the museum about possibly putting that sculpture there?
Mayor Pro Tem, we met and spoke with museum representatives. It did not include the director, but I'm fairly certain that the director was clued into the conversation, and we had positive feedback from other staff at the museum.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start this in just my thought. Thank you very much for the presentation. I like the Lover's Point where the circle is, and I think wherever the dancing monarchs go, there's always a possibility of vandalism. That's a given. But I think with people that come and visit our wonderful town of Pacific Grove and walk along the trail, I think that would be a nice stopping point to admire the butterflies. So, but I would like to hear the rest of the council. What's their thoughts? Yes.
Mr. Guerrero, Mr. First, can you tell me what are the dimensions of that circular pad that's outside Lover's Point or above the, do either one of you know what that dimension is?
I do not have that dimension. I'm not sure if George does, but I would say it's probably 10 to 12 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Radius.
my concern with that is if you take a 12-foot span and you put a 6-foot sculpture, it's going to limit the amount of people that can move around it. And I don't know if there's an opportunity to pull out those benches or move the benches out further in order to make enough room for that. But I don't want people, it's going to have to be raised so people don't bump their heads. But I think it's also going to be a challenge in that area. I think it would be perfect, but I just worry that given the size of that pad and a 6-foot by 6-foot dimension, that may be, it may be too small for it. And I'm not suggesting that we make it smaller because I think it's beautiful, but I want to make sure that this thing has the best chance that we can give it. And also, I would say that any installation needs to come with some type of monitoring, whether we set up solar cameras or whatever we need to do. That's the reason I think that the other area, and I'm not going to say by the bathrooms, I'm going to say by the walking path and by the snack shack, but there's opportunities there to put up cameras. We've got the beach house right there, the snack shack right there. Those are both city properties. We can throw cameras up there and monitoring fairly easily. So I am intrigued by that location. And I also think that the museum, although it's not near the ocean, I do think that's a good location too, but I want to make sure if my first choice is that pad, that it's going to be big enough to support an art display of that size.
Councilmember Garfield.
Thank you. That's an excellent point. And I think that we need that information. That is also my first choice because of its 360. And if you watch people around a landmark like that, a special place, you'll see that they want something in the background. And the museum has the wall in the background. So somebody taking a picture of them, of their family with the monarchs would have a tan wall behind them. So I don't think it makes it as good a photo op. That said, the tie to the museum is something I don't want to lose. And I think that if we had it at the Lovers Point location, whether it's near that walking path or the circle, we have an opportunity, an educational opportunity to put signage in that explains monarchs, that then pulls people to the museum and to the sanctuary. So it gives them a wayfinding. And for years, people in downtown businesses have wanted to find a way to bring people from the rec trail up to town. And this is an opportunity to do that. So I think that pull is really important. And the role of the museum can be emphasized, as well as plantings, to explain how to plant for the support of the monarchs, what not to plant. And we get a lot out of it. I think that location gives us a lot of pluses. So that's my fave. Although I'm with George, the idea of near Lovers Point, kind of you go, oh yeah, how about that? The camera placement, if we did such a thing, the shack or the swan boat, those are structures that we could also use to mount observation as well. And it's probably something we should be thinking about elsewhere in the city as well. So thank you.
George, go ahead.
As Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners, I just checked on with aerial photography and measured it. It's approximately 20 feet in diameter at its narrowest for that circle.
Mr. First, it's 20 feet in
20 feet across the circle.
across the circle. And do you know that's across the circle? The height is 20 feet?
Sorry, the distance to walk across the circle is 20 feet. And so the sculpture, has a height of approximately 12 feet and, a diameter of approximately 6 feet. So it's 12 by 6 by 6, but it definitely increases in size as you go up. So if you imagine it on a pedestal of 2 to 4 feet up, you would imagine it almost like a tree above people's head, because it kind of goes up in stalks and then bursts out open.
Okay.
And if you look at the pictures of the other iterations of this sculpture, the base itself is actually pretty small. Like all the stems come down to a footing that is really only a few feet across.
Okay, thank you, Mr. First. Yes, Councilman.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the donation. Obviously, it'll look good anywhere. My personal opinion. I do I get the 270 versus 360 degrees. I get the coastal backdrop. No matter where we put it, it'll be used just the way the city is. It'll be used as a directional marker. So if you're thinking Lovers Point, it can say go to downtown. I can tell you my kids will say that's the way to the restrooms by the butterfly. So it's the same concept. So it's just a directional marker. So my view is I think the question that I have is obviously we can do a lot with cameras and all that, but there is vandalism. What is the liability to the city if something were to happen, because the agenda reports do list like a appraised value. It's not chump change. So how are we protected there?
Councilmember Paduri, through Mayor Pro Tem. I think it's like any other asset of the city. This would be a donation to the city, so it would become a possession of the city. And just like if, I think where our liability insurance is through the, Joint Powers Association. And I don't think this would be, my understanding is that the value of the piece is roughly $25,000. Maybe Mrs. Stewart can correct me on that. But I think just like any other thing you would own, you'd have to question whether it's worthwhile to repair it, if it's possible to repair, or if it's something that needs to be removed. So I know that Mrs. Stewart has mentioned the potential of getting extra butterflies. So if one of the butterflies were to be damaged later on, that we'd have spare butterflies ready to get welded on or installed into the sculpture. But I think any incidents of vandalism or, an act of God that damages the sculpture, you'd have to treat it just like anything else. Like, for example, when the whales lost their fins at Berwick Park, we had to decide what to do. Do we scrap the whole statue and because it's full of voids and rotten wood, or do we fill it with Bondo and fix it? And I don't think in either of those situations, as hypothetical with the monarchs or with the whales, it made sense to file any sort of insurance claim. I think it was either you repair it or you remove it from display.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I personally like the coastal kind of like view of this. I know the PG Museum is a candidate, but and I like the spot at Lovers Point, the central spot where there seems like some cemented kind of like structures. To me too, it appears empty. And I do think I agree with Councilmember Garfield. For a really long time, we've been trying to tell folks this is the way to downtown. And I see one of these branches on the sculpture pointing a certain direction. Maybe that direction could be towards downtown. So just tossing out an idea. Probably you'll have more ideas, but my view is that the Lovers Point location looks great. 360 angle. There's not any other item there which will clash with things. So it could become a centerpiece in some cases, as opposed to the one by the restrooms, which is clashing with other elements there. As far as Mr. Forrest did answer some of the questions related to the liability aspect, and I'm glad that whoever's donating it here is also taking care of the maintenance aspects of the situation, because this is by the sea. Depending on the fabric, how the quality of the actual sculpture, it could get weather damage. And so you're maintaining it. That's fantastic. I think this is another way for us to promote the city in more ways than one. So I'm going with that recommendation. Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Morrell.
Yeah, I want to go back just really quick. And if you look in the agenda packet, there is an artist rendering. But now that we've answered the question about how big that is, you can see that there's a solar crosswalk light that you can press. So I think it's a natural location to put a solar camera in there. So I think based on what we've seen, I agree that something needs to probably go there. So that one just moved up in my list to number 1. But again, thank you very much. And it's beautiful and it's going to look great anywhere we decide to place it. But I think going back and looking at it, I think the paved circle would be the appropriate place for it.
Councilmember Knoll.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think it will be a beautiful addition to the city. It's this kind of has a graceful and joyful appearance to it. I definitely understand the value of the coastal views. So I take that in mind as well. But there's something about really graceful artistic art that can enhance potentially the ocean view in that one particular location. And so I just feel like it's sort of an opportunity. It's a good location. The museum does have its desirability because it is, you know, kind of a good location from the perspective of it is one of our town centers, but it's also not a place that it may have quite as much visibility, and I don't think it will showcase the true beauty of it. It may end up more in the shadows of the building. And so I think you won't get the, you know, the full display of it there. What I like about the location of the Circle at Lovers Point, not only because people can really go around it and enjoy the immersive experience of it, but also it's something now that both the locals and the tourists can really enjoy. It kind of gets lost where the Lovers Point is so touristy that often it wouldn't be something the locals would ever really notice. It's something people would have to know it's there and go just specifically to Lovers Point. Whereas in the location in the Circle, anybody driving by the coast, anybody coming down Forest or crossing Ocean View or anything would have the opportunity to really enjoy that. I could almost see, you know, coming into town, it's that thing where you just smile. It's like, if you've been away, thank God, back in PG. Yeah, there just seems to be a beauty and a joy about it that I would like it to be in a place where everybody really has the opportunity to fully enjoy it in its full radiance. And I think it would get more of that radiance in that location. And so as long as we could do, I definitely agree with the idea of the solar cameras. You can't stop people from vandalizing, but maybe you can at least put tools in place where they know they're on camera, good chance they'll get caught, and hopefully respected in that way. And then I know that there was talk at the BNRC meeting as well about making sure it has something around it so people aren't climbing on it. So from that aspect of the liability, maybe even having some plants like Councilmember Garfield had mentioned the pollinators. So having like a little stand around the base where maybe you have a rail and a little bit of pollinator plants to say these are the good kind, you know, to have to support monarchs. And definitely, I think that we might have talked about signage, or I remember them talking about signage of that too. And the idea of using it as a tool for education and leading them to up to more downtown into the museum. So I can really see the value of it being in that location and being more of kind of a real gem and a real showpiece for Pacific Grove, more so in that location. Thanks.
Councilmember Watkins. Thank you, Your Honor. First, I'd like to start off by thanking Jan and John Stewart. This is amazing contribution. Thank you so much. I'd also like to thank the artist, Peter Hazel. I love their work. I took a trip up to Reno. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough lead time to arrange a tour of the studio, but they do offer that if you give them a call and you happen to be in the area. Anyway, for concerns, I think our fear of vandalism greatly outweighs our actual threat from it. That being said, I also think that visibility is probably our best defense against vandalism. And this is the most visible location in town, bar none. Simply put, I'm going to jump ahead. The circle over at Lovers Point at Chase Park is simply our most visible location we've got. So, and again, the idea that Tina had of having a solar powered camera by from the crosswalk sign there is an excellent idea. I think that's low-ish cost. It's going with our resources that are already in place. It's a great opportunity. What drove me to this location? With this particular donation, first of all, it's stunning. The work is beautiful, but it has the possibility to become a landmark for us with proper implementation. And I think this is a good implementation in that it's that Instagram moment. There's a lot of safe places to photograph it from with this location so that we're looking out for traffic safety, pedestrian safety, personal safety. But also it creates this magnificent view, tons of stunning pictures. It's hard to take a bad picture in this town to begin with. But this really takes advantage of some of our very best assets that we've got. And we're not trying to put it someplace where we hope people go. We're putting it someplace where people currently go. This is where everyone goes already. So we're putting it right there where they already are. We're not chasing after them or trying to drive them somewhere else. So that's super helpful for the goal of making this a landmark. Yeah, I gotta say, I really did like the other location at Lovers Point by the coffee shop. But when I was thinking about that Instagram moment, it's like, okay, how would I take a shot of that? Your best location to take the picture from, I think, is the ramp up to the bathrooms. And I think that creates a logistical issue for the people that need to use them. So that's one reason I leaned away. But the major drive was all of the traffic that's already there at the circle. And as was pointed out, the circle was made to house a statue, and it sat there without one. And I think it's time that we gave it one. One thing I'd like to throw out for the city to consider is maybe on the stand having underlighting, so that at night we actually illuminate all the glass butterflies. I think that'd be stunning. Anyway, that's it. That's everything I've got for you. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, Mr. Go.
I would just like to specify that this is in the coastal zone, so we will probably need to figure out how it's going to be mounted and all of these other factors, and then bring it forward for some sort of coastal development permit, because it's more than just putting this in place, right? We're talking fencing, cameras, lighting. So that will be our challenge moving
Okay.
forward. But I'm just letting you know that this has still got quite a little bit of a process.
Okay.
I think you're
Thank
equal
you,
to the task.
Mr. Go.
I'm ready to make a motion if you want.
Well, I have one more thing to say. This isn't welcome to Las Vegas. This is not a sign like that. This is a sign to welcome Pacific Grove. And I think that'll be a sign that with that, if the coastal permit gives its blessing, and I think it'd be great to have that right in that area. It'll be a great tourist attraction for Pacific Grove. And I understand this is just to provide direction. Am I correct, Mr. First? No?
The idea is to decide on a location and provide direction on a location.
Okay. So my understanding is, see if I'm right on this, is that the location is around that circle at Lovers Point. And is there a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we place the sculpture at Lovers Point below the intersection of Forest and Ocean View at the center of the paved circle. And that the Public Works Director come back with all of the required information necessary to make that happen.
Well, at least I'll second.
Okay. Good enough. All those in favor say aye. And I know there's a couple of people still waiting to speak, but at 8 o'clock, we usually take about a 10-minute break. And I would say we return back at 8:40.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
In progress. Okay, good. Let's go with Stephanie Ariola. Hi.
Good evening, night, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, staff, and members of the public. Tonight before you is the Annual League of California Cities Conference voting delegates and alternates discussion. The League of California Cities will hold its annual conference from October 8th through the 10th in Long Beach, California. During the conference business meeting, the authorized delegates from the city may represent the city's interest to vote on and approve league policy. The league requires each city seeking to vote on matters to authorize by resolution its mayor or elected officials to formally represent the city, participate in the business meeting, and vote on behalf of the city. Cal City considers and acts on resolutions that establish Cal City's policies. The policy issues are determined annually by the league board in late summer, and at which time staff will return to council for direction. Tonight's recommendation is to discuss, designate, and adopt a resolution of voting delegate and up to 2 alternates to represent the city of policy matters at the annual conference this fall. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we have any public comment on this hearing? Do we have anybody online?
I don't see anybody online, Mayor.
Discuss this first. Talk to the mayor. He is going to be there as a voting delegate. I'll be an alternative, but we need one more alternative. So that's my motion, that the mayor and the mayor pro tem is the delegates, but it appears we need one more alternate.
Stephanie, is it required?
It usually is a requirement. This just ensures that if one of you or both of you are not there, you at least have a third backup to make sure that they are there to vote on.
Yeah, I do know Mayor Smith is going to be there. There's several of us going to be there, but he is going to be voting that day. And it's in Long Beach. So does anybody wish to be the second alternate?
I'd like to nominate Chaps to be the second alternate.
Okay, I totally agree with you on that.
Oh, so I have a second.
Yeah, where's the second?
Okay, great.
I'll go second on that one. Okay, so Stephanie, we've got the mayor pro tem, and then council member Chaps Paduri will come in as a cleanup batter.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. All those in favor of that? No.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. I got that that Mayor Pro Tem moved, and the second was Councilmember Rao? Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. We could arm wrestle over it or something. Okay. So let's see. The next one we have is we're finally ready for let's see, that is 14A. It's from Sandra, City Clerk. Would you like to do the presentation on this?
Actually, it's going to be Miss Sophia.
Yeah, I know, but I mean.
Yes,
it's your
I will bring up
item.
the presentation.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sophia, you've been waiting for so long.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name is Sophia Schwartzky, and I serve as a community relations manager representing the northern region of Central Coast Community Energy's service area. We're also known as 3CE. I'm here to share highlights about 3CE's recent activities, programs, and ongoing efforts to support your community. And I also want to say that I grew up in Pacific Grove, and I'm very excited to be presenting to your council this evening. Next slide, please. As you may know, 3CE is the public agency that sources energy for the Central Coast. We work in partnership with PG&E, who manages the transmission and delivery of that energy to your homes and businesses. Today, 3CE provides clean and renewable energy to 1.2 million people, which is about 94% of eligible customers across 30 cities and 5 counties. 3CE is on a pathway to delivering 100% clean energy to our customers. Last year, we delivered enough renewable energy to power more than 350,000 homes. By doing so, we avoided carbon dioxide emissions equivalent to taking 105,000 gas-powered cars off the road. CE has power purchase agreements in place to supply 69% of our load with renewable energy by October of 2028, with additional contracts pending approval that would increase this number. This puts us well ahead of state clean energy requirements. We've received many questions about the role of battery storage to this energy transition. As we increase our supply of renewable energy, battery storage does play a critical role in making that energy reliable, affordable, and available when it's needed most. So over the next couple slides, I'd like to go into a bit more detail on that with you. Like I said, battery storage is essential for California's clean energy transition, and just as importantly, to customer affordability. Batteries capture renewable energy when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, then release it when demand is high and wind and solar power is not available. At the utility scale, they reduce fossil fuel reliance during peak hours, lowering electricity rates for customers. At the residential level, home batteries provide backup power and store cheap renewable energy for use during expensive peak hours. So I want to take a real world example to illustrate the value of utility scale battery storage. The chart that you have in front of you shows the statewide power mix from Labor Day weekend of 2022, when California issued its most recent Flex Alert, a statewide call to reduce energy use during a major heat wave. So again, this graph is showing the energy mix from that day. The red area represents fossil fuels, which made up the largest portion. The green shows renewable sources like solar and wind, which peak during the day and then drop off sharply at sunset. But what I really want to show you is those very thin orange lines at the bottom and top of that graph. At the bottom, you'll see batteries charging during daylight hours. And at the top, those same batteries discharge energy back into the grid when it's needed most. And again, on this day, we needed a Flex Alert in order to avoid rolling blackouts. Thank you. So now we're going to look at a more recent heat wave. This chart is showing July 4th of last year, where despite another period of extremely high energy usage, there was no Flex Alert needed to avoid blackouts. And this graph really tells the story. Again, the green bar representing renewable energy grew taller as more solar came online, and the red bar representing fossil fuels became smaller. But most notably, that orange battery bar at the bottom and top of the screen more than tripled. Batteries charged during the day and discharged power during peak evening hours, providing critical support when it was needed most. And again, there was no need for a Flex Alert to avoid blackouts during this event. As you can imagine, we have heard from many community members with questions about the safety of utility scale battery storage. And I'd like to take a moment to share a few key points. First, 3CE does not invest in any power purchase agreements with indoor battery facilities like Vistra's Moss Landing facility was. All of the battery storage projects 3CE invests in are containerized systems that include individual fire suppression units that comply with the latest fire and building codes. And finally, battery system failure rates have dropped 98% since 2018, even as global deployment has increased by more than 25,000%. Next slide, please. At 3CE, we are also investing in innovative energy storage technologies. One example is the Willow Rock Energy Storage Center. Once this project is online, it will use compressed air to power turbines, and it will be the largest compressed air storage project in the world. It will provide 200 megawatts of power to 3CE customers alone. Our Atina Solar Plus Storage, Atlas Solar Plus Storage, and Victory Pass Solar Plus Storage are among some of the latest projects that 3CE has invested in. Together, these projects will supply enough clean energy to power the homes of 263,000 3CE customers. Delivering renewable power is only a piece of 3CE's mission. Equally important is connecting with the communities we serve. 3CE's outreach team is active across the region. We sponsor local events, we host webinars, and we lead workshops that inform and develop our energy programs. To better meet the needs of our diverse communities, 3CE has hired additional bilingual staff, expanded our translated materials, and we've developed an action plan focused on serving underserved populations. Our customer service line now offers support in more than 150 languages. In addition to engaging our communities through outreach and education, 3CE also provides direct support through a range of customer programs. These programs empower customers to electrify their homes, vehicles, and businesses while saving money in the process. Our Electrify Your Ride program, for example, offers up to $4,000 towards the purchase of an electric vehicle, and there are additional funds available through that program for the purchase and installation of EV chargers. Additional programs help lower the cost of upgrading to electric appliances, installing residential battery storage, and advancing electrification in the agricultural sector. We also offer programs exclusively to member agencies like the City of Pacific Grove. Through our Electrify Your Fleet and Charge Your Fleet programs, up to $300,000 per year is available to your city for electric fleet vehicles and EV charging stations. In addition, our Plan Your Fleet program provides no-cost technical assistance to support these efforts. We also have a Reach Codes program, which offers technical assistance and outreach support to help cities and counties adopt, implement, and enforce local Reach Codes. Since 2018, nearly 7,000 customers have benefited from 3CE's programs, putting more than $11 million back into our community. Over $4 million of that support went directly to underserved community members. This slide highlights how the City of Pacific Grove has taken advantage of 3CE's programs to date. So far, your community has received more than $440,000 in funding through various programs like the Electrify Your Ride program, the Electrify Your Home program, the New Construction Electrification program, and the Residential Battery Rebate program. And we've included data from Carmel on this slide as a benchmark to help you put your city's participation levels into context. Before I conclude, I want to share a brief legislative update. The federal mega bill known as HR 1 or the Big Beautiful Bill Act does impact 3CE's customers. The bill eliminates federal tax credits for electric vehicles after September 30th and for home energy upgrades after December 31st. Many of our customers at 3CE combine federal incentives with the rebates that we offer. So we are really encouraging those who are interested in electrifying to do so now so that they can get the maximum incentive that's out there. HR 1 also eliminates tax credits for utility scale solar and wind projects that have not broken ground by 2027. These projects are cheaper and quicker to build than their natural gas alternatives. And without federal support, they may become more difficult to develop, which could potentially lead to higher energy costs for our customers. To help address this, 3CE is supporting the Pathways Initiative, which is Senate Bill 540, which would create a regional energy market across California and other Western states. This would enable us to sell our excess renewable energy produced during the day, reducing emissions across the Western region, and generate nearly $800 million in savings for Californians. Looking ahead, advancing legislation to improve resource adequacy trading is another area that we might pursue next year. So that is all that I have for you today. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer them now. I also have my contact information for you there on the screen. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time this evening, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Okay, this is received presentation. And does any council have anything to say? Yes, Lord. This is received presentation or?
It's an agenda item, so you should ask for if there's any public comment.
Okay, we'll do public comment. Any public comment? Nobody out in the audience? Any public comment online?
I see no hands. I do see one. Lisa Chiani?
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation. This was very interesting. I was particularly interested in the part about the battery storage that you were saying you don't have it contained like the Vistra one, but you used some term like containerized battery storage and also compressed air storage. And I just wondered if you could just briefly elaborate on what those are and where yours are. Thank you.
Okay, if you wish, you can respond to the last question.
Absolutely. So the battery energy storage projects that 3CE invests in are, I don't know if you've ever toured the Vistra facility, but they had all of their batteries located indoors in one building. So when a fire did start, thermal runaway occurred and all of the batteries caught fire after that. So the facilities that 3CE is invested in, they're entirely different facilities where the batteries are actually stored outdoors in individual, they're basically a large storage unit, storage container, so that if there were to be a fire, the batteries would not experience that thermal runaway that we saw in Mouse Landing where the entire building caught fire. And to answer the second question about the Willow Rock project, that project, I believe it's located in Kern County and it's not online yet, but it's a way that we're looking at innovative projects that use storage technology that is not lithium. So the way that it works is a bit above my head, but I could definitely get you in touch with the power procurement team. But my understanding is they just compress the air and it generates energy that we're able to store and use later in the day. And for a more scientific answer, I'll get you in touch with the rest of our team.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. There's a map of all of these projects available on our website, and we have press releases that share information about some of those exciting projects that are new and providing energy to not just 3CE customers, but the entire state.
Okay, great. Any other council wish to respond? Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you. Very interesting. I did have a couple questions while I was reading before the slides ahead of time. So you mentioned the electrify your fleet, and Carmel seems to have taken advantage of that, and Pacific Grove has for residents, but not for the city, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So there is a residential component, and then there is a component that is reserved for the member agencies we serve, like Pacific Grove. And you actually have a programs team member at 3CE and an account manager that is dedicated to serving Pacific Grove. So I'd love to get city staff in touch with them and they can talk about the next step in accessing some of those dollars.
Yeah, and especially since it seems like we're on a pretty tight deadline to do so now, it might be good to, I don't know if we've explored that. We've been talking about getting a trolley, but it sounds like with, with the timeline looming, we may not be able to do that. But I appreciate you kind of bringing this to our attention because that I think would be something if we can find a way to do more that could electrify some of our vehicles, if not an entire fleet. It'd be good to know about that and take advantage while we still have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And we offer a no-cost technical assistance program, which is the Plan Your Fleet program. So that could be a good starting point for the city. So I'd love to get your team in touch with Anna Capstick, who's our programs analyst, and she'll definitely walk you through the process.
Okay, because it sounded like that could cover chargers too.
Yes,
So if
absolutely.
we want to electrify our fleet, we'll obviously need chargers to then charge them. So it sounds like, but I'm sure there's still a cost and we'd have to weigh that. So, yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
And thank you for the presentation. I like the fact that you grew up in PG, now working in Monterey County. That's a great story in itself. Just on the current administration, its policies, is that actually impacting 3C in itself? Or are you getting funded federally, and is that causing an impact at your end?
Yeah, it's a great question. So at 3CE, our funding does come from ratepayers. The way that it works is when a city decides to enroll with 3CE, we automatically take over energy generation services for that community. So I know PG&E's government relations liaison spoke earlier. So PG&E is still handling energy transmission and delivery for the city, but we have taken over that energy generation portion. So all of our funding comes from customers paying their energy bills. However, because the bill sunsets production and investment tax credits for solar and wind projects, if those projects are harder to develop, it could result in increased costs for our customers, because that's one way that we're able to reduce energy costs for our customers is investing in those solar and wind and battery projects that we can pass the savings on to our customers.
Okay, that is helpful. And just from a future perspective, some point in time, I was really following this, but somebody had quoted that we need X amount of like charging stations in Monterey County to meet a certain goal of like net zero. Are you investing in public infrastructure in the Monterey County area?
Yes, absolutely. So our Charge Your Fleet program is one way that we do that. That's the program that's available exclusively to cities for charging stations that are public. And then I believe there's also funding available for stations that are reserved for the city, but I'd have to talk to Anna about that. But there's also a commercial aspect of that program called the Electrify Your Ride program, where local businesses can participate in the program. And I believe it's up to $150,000 towards the purchase of those DC fast chargers that can charge an EV up in 45 minutes or less. We are also starting our first 3CE owned charging program, where we're looking at starting up chargers across our service area for by use of the public. So we're excited about that, but we're absolutely invested in EV charging infrastructure.
That's awesome. I just wanted to make a comment, and obviously, I want to ask about the fire truck, but the fact that like we're always comparing cities, and here's a stark illustration of like Carmel doing something and Pacific Grove not doing something. So maybe the staff can look into some of these electrification items. Perhaps some of them are there beyond September too, that we can use. It's not necessary to just look at trolleys only, but like there are several city vehicles. I think some of them are have to be replaced anyway. So maybe this could be a good opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, is it okay if I add one piece?
Yes.
I do want to make it clear that 3CE's programs dollars are not going anywhere. We will continue to have those available for commercial, residential, and the cities we serve, but it's those federal tax incentives that our customers will often stack. So our program will still be available, but we're encouraging people to electrify sooner rather than later. And that impact is mostly to residential and commercial customers and less so to the city. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for your clarification, answered my very first question. I also wanted to thank you for your Electrify Your Ride program and giving me a rebate on my car a little bit. I appreciate that. My question's kind of I imagine this would be through Anna Hapstick, but is there a way for you to provide maybe an analysis, a report on how we could do better? In other words, how we could take better advantage of the programs that you have? I guess my question would then be to the city manager can we arrange an interface with Anna Hapstick to kind of see how these programs might actually help some of our goals we've got going on right now, and maybe provide some opportunities too. I know we've talked about wanting to have our own, trolley, but our own bus for moving our tourists and our own residents around town. And if this provides a cost-effective way to get subsidized on that sort of project, maybe that's something we could get into. So I guess question would be, can you provide like some sort of documentation? Like if we have an interface with you and they say, okay, here's our needs, can you do a kind of a gap analysis on where we want to go versus what can be done?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Plan Your Fleet program would be a perfect fit for something like this. And I didn't mention it during my presentation, but we also have an electric bus program for transit vehicles, school buses, and farm worker transportation buses. So I think that could also be a really good opportunity for the city. And yeah, I'll definitely follow up with the city manager tomorrow and get him in touch with Anna. And she'd be absolutely thrilled.
Question: if we're doing forestry work, does that fall under the ag banner?
So that kind of work would probably be a better fit for PG&E funding. I think that they may have some programs like that for our ag electrification program. It's local farm owners who participate to buy electric tractors or water pumps or chargers for their vehicles.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation
Thank you for your time.
and your breaker, right?
Thank you. Yes, I am a breaker.
Okay. Okay, that ends our council meeting, and everybody have a nice evening.